Be interesting to see how far that game goes. But let's take you to news on the go now. Eskom is currently hosting what they're calling a Business Connect. It's essentially a strategic engagement platform that's designed to strengthen the utilities collaboration with small, medium and micro enterprises. Speaking now is the Electricity Minister in Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. Let's listen.
Come to fruition and we are able to lift this to great heights. So why are we here? I know you said I'm not delivering a keynote address. I'm talking really the contribution to the conversations around the opportunity on green hydrogen. I'm very atypical, so I told you I'm not a politician. I'm an engineer who have just been asked to fulfill a public function, and that public function was to resolve the energy crisis. And I can tell you that before the end of this year, we'll stand up in the public and call it that we have resolved this problem. We have resolved it because we are confident of our ability, our technical ability. We are not here by accident. So I'm sitting there with an engineer who's the CEO and the top management, Eskom CEO. The board, led by an engineer who's the chair of the board, and also PhD graduates in the board, and the minister who's an engineer. And we are trained to solve problems. So this is but another small problem we had to solve with grave consequences. With grave consequences. If you don't resolve it, you are going to undermine the ability of the economy to grow. So I want to engender this point. You must believe in your abilities. When we are given these responsibilities, with all its complexities and difficulties, we knew that we possess the intellectual faculties to resolve this problem. I repeat, we are better than them. That's the point I want to make. You must always believe when we enter into a fight that I have the capacity to win this battle. And that's the mentality, the orientation we have. And I'm sure that with the opportunity that the CEO has extended, you are going to show the best that you are capable of. So what is the problem we're trying to solve? I am of the opinion that, and this is an advice that I got from one of my lecturers when I was at university, says, for you to stand a better chance of resolving the problem, you must spend 60% of the time trying to understand the problem. What in science we refer to as a problem statement. So what is the problem statement that Mr. Somera and yourself are helping to resolve? The problem statement is a South African economy that is not growing. So we're resolving an economic problem that has got energy manifestations. And the sub-element of that is the contribution of green hydrogen in resolving the energy complex to help us to address the economic problem in our country. The President makes the point, and the Minister of Finance elaborates on that point to say that the structural constraint to the South African economy can be identified as twofold, rather. The first one is the inefficiencies on the logistics side, and the second one is the challenges with regards to the electricity deficit. There is no country in the world that can grow when the lights are not on. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. The lights have to be on, and we know that that electricity has to be affordable, and we know that now those electrons have to be green for the multiplicity of reasons, because we know the technology on renewable energy is, the cost curve is coming down, the technology is maturing, it's going to bring down the cost, and it becomes affordable. Our finished products will be competitive. We can land it in multiple jurisdictions, and then we can see that parts of the industrial north, although they couch it as an issue around the energy transition, but these are tariff barriers. What we call the carbon border adjusted mechanism is nothing other than just undermining the ability of our finished products to enter those markets. And of course, what ostensibly it's about the transition, but principally it's about undermining our ability to access those markets. So instead of lamenting that, I think we must design solutions to ensure that we green this production and we are able to access those markets. So we need to resolve the electricity problem in our country to ensure that the economy is able to grow. And then we decided that it's important that we have an appreciation of what it will take for us to get the economy going. So if you were to do a longitudinal analysis, just trying to understand what has been the contribution of various sectors of the economy to GDP over a period of time, one of the things that is going to stand out is the contraction of mining, which is part of primary production, to the share of the GDP. And if you're to look at the skills profile in our country, is such that a lot of people don't have the kind of skills that allows them to participate in the secondary and tertiary sectors of the economy. And therefore, your primary sector is still an area of opportunity for the multitudes of people who are out of employment. And that's why we had to do everything possible to ensure that there are significant investment in the primary sector so that we're able to absorb people into gainful employment. So we know that the employment absorption capacity of the primary sectors, if you like, significantly higher than other sectors, the secondary and the tertiary sector of the economy. So mining has been contracting as a share of GDP. But we know now that with the resurgence of what I refer to as the battery economy, your fuel cells, you can see that mining is no more a sunset industry. Mining is a sunrise industry. And to this end, Cabinet has approved a critical minerals strategy presented and led by Minister Mantashe. So what the critical mineral strategy really seeks to do is to identify what constitute the supply risks. It's able to compute a comparison of South Africa's production list with regards to critical mineral list relative to our trading partners. And then we are able to compute what constitute export potentials and also product diversification of these critical minerals. Remember that what we are trying to do is to say, having designed this matrix of what these minerals are, which of these ones are going to help us in the shortest possible space of time to ensure that we are able to position ourselves favorably to take advantage of the battery economy, the fuel cells, and what is going to underpin this transition going into the future. So I'm talking about minerals that are essential for our overall economic development, job creation, industrial advancement, and contribution to national security. So we've given it our own unique color of what constitute critical minerals. I mean, there's no universal definition of what is critical minerals, but what is important, what is a common feature from one country to the other is issues of national security and also economic development. What do we know about the mineral?
All right, so you're listening to the Electricity Minister speaking in Kempton Park. In fact, it's ahead of the Hydrogen Summit event, which is going to take place, I beg your pardon, I think in Cape Town later on this week. But we've been listening essentially to the minister's opening remarks insofar as that is concerned. You know, all of this is aimed at essentially bolstering the country's generation capacity. But I want to draw your attention to a comment made by the minister just a few moments ago, saying that he is confident that by the end of the year, he and his team will be able to stand before the country essentially and announce the end of load shedding. We're going to be waiting for that, of course, with bated breath.